while OFAC issued License 46. Simultaneously, Venezuelan National Assembly approved on second discussion reform of hydrocarbon law, and a few hours earlier, Presidents Donald Trump and Delcy Rodriguez agreed to reopen Venezuelan airspace, and American Airlines has already expressed interest in flying between United States and Venezuela. This has been the single day of maximum coordination and cooperation in bilateral relations between the two countries in their entire history. OFAC License 46 relies heavily on Executive Order 14,373, signed by President Donald Trump on January 9th, 2026, approving certain transactions involving the Venezuelan government on special United States Treasury accounts on behalf of Venezuela. OFAC License 46 allows United States entities to participate in Venezuelan petroleum business while restricting such operations with entities belonging to North Korea, Cuba, Iran, Russia, or China, as many of those countries still hold some investment in Venezuela. Within the next few days, we will get a clearer understanding on how their participation will be affected. Hydrocarbon law passed sets the possibility of decreasing fees and revenues for the government from 30% to 15% in case of greenfields, and plenty of derogatory measures were approved involving complete withdrawal of obsolete laws that asked the Venezuelan government to risk funds and investment and market share that we don't have. The ruling party of Venezuela is supposed to be socialist. However, their enthusiastic approval of these market-oriented reforms suggests a shift to the right on a party that is supposed to be socialist. The People's Republic of China is ruled by a communist party which increasingly behaves, thrives, and succeeds with capitalistic methods. Critics of new Venezuelan hydrocarbon law complain that we are reverting back to 1 century ago when dictator Juan Vicente Gomez ruled Venezuela, as international companies came and went. However, in early and mid 20th centuries, Venezuela was one of the most thriving, growing economies, as during the 19th century, we were plagued by illness, civil war, and poverty, and for much of the 20th century, petroleum industry developed among the greatest on planet Earth. The early 21st century saw a temporary decline in Venezuelan proficiency in oil production, distribution, and strategy. However, with this new hydrocarbon law just approved, Venezuela should be on the path of rapidly increasing production and exports. President Trump guaranteed that American companies are already scouting Venezuelan terrain in search of the juiciest oil fields, both brownfield and greenfield. And the Venezuelan tourism sector is expected to increase as there is increasing coordination between security departments in both Venezuela and the United States to provide security for American tourists and businessmen who will be flying American airlines, airplanes, and perhaps Avior or Estelar if they, in reciprocity, are Venezuelan airlines that could be allowed to fly back into the United States. Airports of Caracas, Maracaibo, and Barcelona, serving central, western, and eastern Venezuela, are potential ports of entry. Many deputies of the opposition were eager to present legislation in support of the petroleum industry and transparency, which will be likely discussed in future sessions as specific compliance and procedure laws rather than the general organic law that was approved on January 29, 2026. A street manifestation in support of approval of hydrocarbon law went from the National Assembly to Miraflores Palace, where Delcy Rodriguez confirmed that Venezuela is ready to receive new foreign investment and new commercial airline traffic. Venezuela's isolation is over. Venezuela is open for international business. Other laws are expected to be discussed shortly, such as reduction of paperwork and emphasis on improved business climate seems quickly being established by Delcy Rodriguez presidency in coordination with the National Assembly led by Jorge Rodriguez. There are early signs of improved conviviality between opposition and government, at least on the grounds of the National Assembly. And it is still awkward to see the Venezuelan government party acting as capitalist while the opposition is acting as socialist, while Venezuelan people tend to be politically aligned with the opposition but preferring capitalism. Apparent contradictions are evident. Socialist Party has a lot of explaining to do to their constituency who thought they were socialist and are now acting capitalist, while opposition parties have a lot to explain as well, as people thought those were capitalistic parties and they are behaving socialist. This clash of constituencies versus political parties in contradiction with each other might be a necessary requirement for finding middle grounds. Some wording such as blockade and anti-imperialism are occasionally noted in the new hydrocarbon law. However, those words are mostly decorative or legacy language, as the commercial terms that will rule Venezuelan hydrocarbon industry closely meet international standards in most other countries. Venezuelans are still waiting for the new transparency government website, which will inform efficiency of transactions in accordance with United States agreements. While Chevron Corporation has announced an increase in their petroleum exports to the United States during the month of March, while we are still at the end of January. The last 4 weeks in Venezuela have been extremely hectic. The pace of daily changes is bewildering, while we still experience the lag from policy approval and implementation that could extend to prosperity for the Venezuelan people. As Venezuelan daily life remains extremely rough, while we continue facing chronic inflation and unemployment disgraces. However, there is a pathway clearly set for foreign income that should stabilize exchange rates and therefore stabilize inflation, while foreign investment in petroleum industry plus tourism generated by resumption of commercial flights and opening of airspace could open up niche employment opportunities in the tourism sector, as Venezuela continues holding some of the greatest natural wonders in the planet: mountains, Caribbean beaches, rainforests, high savannas with waterfalls, caves in both sea and land. The tourism industry would need investment in roads, local airports, hotels, cottages, and upgrades of restaurants. Reform of hydrocarbon law was also needed, as Venezuelans will cherish having the opportunity of working for private firms. The problem with PDVSA has been that it has been extremely politicized, with many workers in a capital-intensive industry, and as PDVSA is allowed to compete with majors from all over the planet, PDVSA authorities will be forced to improve their processes and adequate their accounting standards so that their market share loss is gradual rather than an implosion. Complete destruction of PDVSA is not desirable. Ideally, PDVSA should be a medium-sized petroleum company ready to compete in niche fields, while petroleum majors from the international community are scattered to develop most of Venezuela's petroleum. Well-paid jobs and transfer of downstream potential activities can be achieved much more quickly through private companies. Resumption of commercial airlines into Venezuela will take some time, as some security arrangements must be arranged between Venezuela and the United States. However, every day we're seeing positive developments, so maybe this lag should only be about a few weeks. We must cherish this improved relationship between Donald Trump and Delcy Rodriguez, as a solid Venezuela-United States bilateral growth should benefit South America, Central America, North America, and the Caribbean alike. Dialogues between our governments, countries, political parties, and constituencies will continue reflecting contradictions that historically arise from polarized debates. This pace of rapid change should foster pragmatic, middle-of-the-ground approaches for the benefit of Venezuela and the United States.